Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dartmouth Curling Club. It is Tiebreaker Saturday here at the 2018 Nova Scotia Men's Deloitte Tankard here on Val 5 TV1. Alongside John Seitman, a curling aficionado, statistic man. My name is Dan Thompson. Delighted to have this call in the Battle of the Thompsons. Stuart Thompson taking on Kendall Thompson. Kendall Thompson has the hammer, and he is throwing the yellow stones. John, I guess that 7 draws, not enough to determine the top 3 teams, of course, and go on to like a semi, so that's why we're here calling this one. Stuart Thompson defeated Chad Stevens earlier this morning to get here, so he's got a big day for him if he has goals of getting to the final to take on Jamie Murphy, play 3 times and win 3 times in a day.
Yeah, it should be a good game for Stuart. He had a great match this morning against Chad Stevens to pick up that, I believe it was a 10-4 victory in the semifinal tiebreaker. So going in against his brother and a very strong combo behind him, it should be a challenging match. Again, both of these two teams have played off 4 times this year, splitting their records 2-2. It should be a nail-biter match, and I'm looking forward to calling it with you there, Dan.
Yeah, you mentioned head-to-head, and also head-to-head here. They actually began the draw facing each other. Draw number 1, which began on Tuesday, 10-9 victory. Kendall came out with the win over Stuart Thompson. So, of course, it's definitely going to be awkward there if they have sort of like a Sunday family dinner with the 2 Thompson teams going together. So, but as you said, it should be a dandy, and basically these teams have taken a little bit of a different path to get here. We'll talk about that throughout the broadcast. And, of course, as we said, started on Tuesday with 8 teams, and we'll be down to 3 by the time this ends, and later on tonight we'll be down to 2 as Mark Dacey is probably sitting back at the hotel. Maybe they're rushing in the hotel, waiting to see who they play tonight in the semis.
Yeah, so starting out this game here, it does appear like they're starting to play fairly aggressive compared to what we've seen some teams play early in the game, with a few guards in front and a stone from Kendall's team buried behind. And you're seeing this one coming from Travis, which will also probably finish up also as a guard as well. So probably Stuart's trying to manufacture a forced single in the first end here so that he can get the hammer back in 2.
Yeah, let's meet the teams as, of course, that throw has come to an end there by the Stuart Thompson team, the second-ranked team coming into these championships. They curl out of the Dartmouth Curling Club, and their lead is Taylor Ardeel. Their second, Travis Coulter. Colton Steele is the third, and they're skipped by Stuart Thompson out of this very own building that we're in right now, the Dartmouth Curling Club. As we take a look at Brendan Laval, the lead there was Jarrett Brown, who you saw a couple seconds ago. Bryce Everest is a third, and Kendall Thompson is a skip, and they curl out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Brendan Laval filling in for Jamie Danbrook, who is doing some other duties in Finland, doing some ice-making duties from what we understand. So they bring in Brendan Laval. Of course, he's now living in Ontario, so when they needed to make the call, they reached out to him, and here he is playing second stone here in the Nova Scotia Deloitte Tankard on a Saturday afternoon from Dartmouth.
Yeah, Brendan and Bryce, if I remember correctly, did play together with Jamie Danbrook skipping for a few years there in this Deloitte Tankard. So they definitely have a bit of experience together, and looking for a very crucial victory to get the spot against Mark Dacey tonight in the semifinal.
Yep, as we mentioned, Kendall Thompson has the hammer, throwing the yellow stones, and I said let's talk about the path of how they got here. Kendall got off to a very good start, of course, defeating his brother 10-9, and then had wins over Stevens, Dacey. So he started off 3-0, and then all of a sudden, the streak went the other way. 3 wins, 3 straight losses to Greg Power, Jamie Murphy, Mike Fleming, and then got a win last night to get a 3-way tie for third place. And, of course, he had to wait to see who his opposition was, and Stewart came out on Chad Stevens, as we talked about. So that's how the Kendall Thompson team out of the Mayflower Curling Club got to where they are here at the Deloitte Tankard.
So now you're going to see a bit more of an aggressive play here from Colton Steele. Colton is a renowned player for making the big hits, so he's going to. It appeared like they were looking at the possibility of the hit and roll. So with that type of ice that he's giving, there's probably going to be a nice bit of weight here.
As you mentioned, they're not wasting a lot of time. Rocks in play. When the thing is that this is what the Stewart Thompson team likes to do. They pretty well put a little bit of pressure and a lot of rocks in play in that first in against Jamie Murphy, and they came away with the win. Murphy was already knew that he was pinched his ticket to the final on Sunday, but definitely wanted to finish off very strong and didn't roll over and die and let them win. So it was a battle, but Stewart Thompson started getting ahead, and he never looked back on his way to victory. As we take a look at the third stone here from the Kendall Thompson team, Bryce Everest.
So Bryce just trying to come around here, try to get at least near to that stone of Stewart's at the top of the 12-foot. As far as he can get it would be really good to sit the 2 and put Team Stewart Thompson under pressure.
As you see, good amount of stones in play here in this first in. But I think that's the way the Thompson team likes to play, because having a chance to see them play in the past, not really what you call a defensive team. They love the big weight. They know they have it. They can both, of course, their seconds and thirds can really rip it for sure. Coulter and Steele, and case in point is he'll throw a missile here, try to split things up, and he'll push it over, but the shot rock still belonging to Kendall Thompson here in 1.
Yeah, that type of style of having the big hitting and high offense style, it is pretty much a calling card for all 4 members of this team, especially Colton and Stewart, having gone right through the junior level and excelled with that style of play. So definitely not a surprise that they're playing this high offense format, trying to be aggressive early, try to force a steal.
Both these teams look pretty good in energy because they had the late draw, the final draw in the round robin last night. And some of those games, as we take a look at, there's Greg Power in the background. So definitely a quick turnaround for the Stewart Thompson team. A little bit more of a easier for Kendall Thompson team, having the little bit of the morning off and playing the afternoon draw. But maybe that's a lot of curling in a short amount of time, especially for this Thompson team. If it goes the way he would like, 4 games and basically about a 20 to 24 hour time span.
Honestly, in this specific instance, I would kind of want to be Stewart Thompson in the position that he's in, because being that Kendall's only starting now, he's only playing his first game of the day, so he really will take a little bit of time to sort of adjust to the ice and sort of know how it's moving today. Stewart, being the fact that he's already gone through 1 game, though it was over on sheet B, so it's a little bit different, he will still have a little bit more of an idea on how it's playing, and it gives him a bit of a mental edge as he starts this game trying to play super aggressive. Appears like he's looking for the double to try to sit 3, which would really be a great start here to try to force Kendall to the single. Only needs to hit about half a rock here to make it.
Well, it's been like a up and down draw for the Stewart Thompson team. Kendall Thompson team, it's been streaky. Start off with 3 wins and then 3 straight losses, and they're hoping to go on a little bit of a winning streak and get themselves into the final tomorrow. Nose hit.
So that's an interesting challenge now, being that because he hit to the nose, it really makes it very difficult to access that stone of Kendall's at the button. So you're going to see some movement again, using Kendall's shot here to take out that stone just removed. It will probably give the option for the Stewart to throw a double and really put Kendall under pressure for his final.
Well, we see the yellow stone that's sitting pretty well close to the button, and there's lots of blue rocks there for the Stewart Thompson team to leave. How come Kendall just doesn't try to, just block it so he doesn't raise any of those blue in here and pump that out for a big score?
I think in this specific instance, he's sort of looking at the fact that the double, though it is relatively textbook in the angle of how he's going to have to go for it, it is a challenging shot. So if you force this early to try to make a big shot, like you're now probably going to have about a 4-foot angle run, which if you're about half an inch off on making the right angle, you're probably going to jam and still leave a yellow sitting there.
Yeah, that one slid just close, and that probably would have gave him a little bit of tense moments because they got the shot rock. It's just a matter of maybe trying to get that second one in there, but you see there's lots of blue that's in there just blocking things. But still, you can see a little bit of the 4-foot on each side there, so they're pretty well lined up. But my thing is that there's lots of rocks there in the 12 and 8-foot area for him to push that yellow back out and make it so that Thompson's going to have a hard one there on his last, because he's definitely in steal mode here in number one.
Yeah,
Final stone from Stewart. Here. Yeah, final stone here from the Stewart Thompson team out of the Dartmouth Curling Club. And a ooh and ah of the crowd located close to our broadcast location. He pretty well almost came close to doing that, getting rid of that one, but
still a tough draw here for Kendall. He needs to get at least about half into the 4-foot to score his second point. There, having the stone of Stewart's just biting the edge of the 4, so it's challenging. He as a skip, he should be able to make this type of a shot, as you generally, when you skip, you're pretty much trained to draw the 4-foot when needed.
Final stone for Kendall Thompson here out of the Mayflower Curling Club. It's the Thompson versus Thompson tiebreaker. Hoping to get things off with a good start with a 2 here in number 1.
Sweeper's working on this one here.
Yep, you see them going. Brown, Lavelle, they're going hard.
Need every inch here.
Look to be okay. I'd say so. Look at that. Pats on the back as the teammates have a little bit of moment there that you saw. Kendall Thompson starting thing off with a big end. 2 points here in number 1. So we'll go to end number 2 here at the Deloitte Tankard here on 5 TV1 in the Battle of the Thompsons, 2-0. And Stuart Thompson will now have the hammer throwing the blue stones. Definitely a good start there for Kendall. It was, pressure was put on, and we saw more stones in play probably than we were accustomed to, as you mentioned probably a few seconds ago. So, yeah, that was a pretty good end and a pretty good result here for Kendall. And but the thing is that Stewart has started to improve play as he's gone along here in these championships. So yeah, it's going to be really hard to try to break away from him, and because it's pretty well going to be a seesaw back and forth to the 10th end.
Yeah, he's been running really consistent all week, even with the losses that he's had there to Kendall and Chad and Mark. Getting the win last night over Jamie Murphy was really probably the stepping stone that he needed to sort of mentally get that edge, and he's playing really consistent after beating Chad to sort of get redemption on that. It's going to be a big match here to try to get back into this with his brother. But again, early in this game here, so you'll see Taylor's going to set up the corner guard, try to set up the offense early.
Well, we've got lots,
and really put the Kendall under pressure.
We got lots of folks here. Yeah, we got lots of folks there watching. Of course, we've got folks watching in Okotoks. That's the hometown there of Taylor our deal. And of course, Bryce Everest family watching in Calgary. So we say hello to Jake and Robin and Lynn in Okotoks. Glad you can join us here on Bell 5 TV1's coverage here of the tiebreaker as we take a look at Jarrett Brown and why that's on its way. Let's talk about Stuart Thompson's path here to the tiebreaker. As we mentioned, we met there on draw number 1, 10-9 win, Kendall over Stuart. And then wins against Greg Power and Mike Fleming bumped Stuart Thompson to 2-1, and then had a bit of a hiccup against Chad Stevens, so he got a little bit of revenge on Stevens with the win earlier today to go to 2-2. Then Brett McDougall had a win over Brett McDougall, and then a loss to Dacey, and then the win against Jamie Murphy, and everybody had that circled on their calendar, and it was a great turnout here and a great turnout online. So, and came away with the win, and a much needed win. Kind of maybe thinking that when they were facing that end at the draw, at the last game of the draw, might not have been what they were really thinking is, win to get in for, for Stuart Thompson sort of thing. But that's how it happened. And that's how it materialized. And here we are in tiebreaker Saturday.
Yeah, certainly, again, it wasn't what everybody had expected out of Stuart Thompson to be having to go back against the wall and try to get the big wins. Being that Stuart has been one of the top teams on tour for Nova Scotia this season, having qualified for this event by way of the CTRS rankings. So he's coming on a wave of momentum, but having to play clutch here on tiebreaker Saturday to try to get the spot in the playoffs and keep his hopes at heading on to the Brandt Center in Regina alive for the trip to the Brier.
Gets dough, but leaves the Yellowstone up top in the 12-foot area.
So a little bit more straightforward here. You're trying to see there that Travis is going to play that come around draw, try to sort of ignore that stone of Kendall's there at the top of the 12-foot. This is trying to really set up for the potential to add a deuce. If he can get around just right and get it buried, it would really put Kendall under pressure, but it really does need to curl over to get that buried behind the guard.
Not much done here on the front end here of the Stuart Thompson team. They'll push that yellow into the 8, and their rock will come to a rest there in the 12.
Yeah, that was a good result there. It does appear like it is pretty much buried completely behind cover.
Brendan Lavelle will get the hack and get rid of that one that's in the outside of the rings belonging to Stuart Thompson.
Yeah, it looks pretty good from here, so it's just going to be pretty clean cut. Just peel it out.
Yeah, rolls to the wings and out. May not, as of now, very quiet compared to the last end. And
yeah, you're going to see a lot more of that, a little bit of a more conservative style right now. Just simply those really lots of rocks in play type of ends. They take a lot of extra time, and considering the fact that you need to sort of conserve a little bit of that for toward the end of the game, playing a little bit more clean cut is what will really make it a little bit easier on them come the end of the game. Need to sweep it here to get it as far as he can to get his undercover.
Deal and steal. Dragged out an extra few feet as they put their work boots on and comes to a rest, and just like that, Kendall already asking for it to be removed, and he'll ask Bryce Everest to do it. A little wobble there out of the hack.
Yeah, a little bit of a speed wobble there, so I think still he does have it, so that was just one of those ones where he may have...
Oh, he nosed it and...
got the run. Still good result.
Leaves his Yellowstone outside of the house.
Yeah, now you're going to still see the position there where Stewart's going to call for that same type of come-around draw. The main benefit for Kendall being that he got that but left his yellow still sitting there is the fact that now if he has to play that same type of a shot, he's running in his own color, which is a lot better a position than when he was running in one of Stewart's and hoping for a double. Travis and Taylor are going to have to work on this one because it needs to curl.
Yep, they are getting on it, going hard. Pretty well, all hands on deck on this one. And they're going to drag it, and they drag it right to the 8-foot area. And upon my calculations, it's a shot rock right now in 2.
Still not really that good a result, even though they are shot stone. It gives the opportunity that Bryce is going to be able to play probably. I'm guessing it's going to end up being try to hit and roll a bit, and that will give a result that they can potentially get out of this end with either a blank end or force to a single. It looks pretty good here, just enough to sit the 2, so you're probably going to see with the fact that the way that Colton plays with him playing the aggressive hits, you're going to probably see him try to go what is called around the clock on that double, where he'll play the double and hope that it spins up into the 12-foot, hit thick enough that it will stay there like that. So it is a good option this early in the end to make the double and have some protection on it.
He's in cleanup mode. Colton Steele
needs to curl here.
Yep. A little bit of steering there by Ardeo, but they'll just get a piece of the yellow and the blue will go out as well. But you can see, as Ardeo had his broom trying to direct it to get over, but the rock had other intentions.
Yeah, it was just a little bit wide on what he needed to have for it. So again, having it roll out, it's going to give a few options for Kendall. I imagine you're probably going to see him play a tap on his own, move them around, get a little bit of separation, because you can't really get to the nose on this one, because then it makes it a little bit easier for Stewart to double them out, or at least remove one and make the other a bit more accessible.
See in behind that Kristen McDermott is watching in the back, and of course she's going to have a big one against Brothers later on tonight in semifinals. We'll have that one for you. She got off to a good start, went 5-0, and then got 2 straight losses. Could have been easily into the final yesterday, but it's Marianne Arsenault. But we'll have that one. Brothers McDermott in a battle of first and second teams in the women's curling rankings. And by the time the smoke clears in that one, John, one of those teams will not be playing tomorrow. And if you were probably picking that, you probably are a really good gambler, because nobody would have seen that coming. But Marianne Arsenault went on a streak, lost that first one, ran the table, went 6-1. So tonight should be a dandy, and the final tomorrow should be a dandy as well, as we're going to skip rocks here too. Yeah,
she really showed the experience that she has with being a 5-time champion in this event. I see there with Kristen being here, she's probably trying to get a little bit of an idea on how this sheet moves, being that her semifinal against Jill Brothers will be on this sheet here live on Bell TV 1. Sometimes, even when you haven't gotten the chance to play, just being able to see how it moves and everything, and it can give you a little bit of information that can make it a big difference come game time.
Well, you can see he's pretty loose, and probably when he's loose, he probably plays his best curling, and it's starting to come together with his win over Murphy last night and win against Stevens, as we see the final stone here from Stuart Thompson in 2.
Okay, so Stuart with his first here.
Sorry.
He's going to try to play that double again, and he pretty much plays that type of around-the-clock style double that I had mentioned earlier. So now that it puts him in a lot better position to potentially force a miss out of Kendall on his final there with this one. So
yeah, this is
good
Kendall's
execution.
Final. Yeah, this is Kendall's final here without hammering 2 as they take a look at that blue stone in the back there. That was what Stewart will have to throw here, 2, as he has the hammer, throwing the blue stones.
So Kendall's just going to look to play the hit and try to roll to an area where it makes it a little bit more challenging on Stewart on his final to be able to make the hit to roll out and blank the end. Not really touching it here as much.
Laval gets on it now. Pushes the blue stone out, so line 1, not much in front of the house. Pretty well opened up here for Thompson to make a play on the one just thrown. So definitely we'll try to get a blank here in 2 and carry the hammer into 3. We talked about them being second ranked in the province, 33rd in the country. The Stewart Thompson team out of the Dartmouth Curling Club with their final stone here in 2. Our deal on it already. We'll punch it out and we'll easily get it to go out of the rings and blank in number 2.
Yeah, Taylor was really trying to hold that there as much as possible because if there was the least bit of an overcurl, it would have hit thick enough that it would probably have stayed in the rings and he would have been forced. Being able to hold it enough to get that blank end, it really is good for the game plan of Stewart Thompson, and he's going to hope to recover a little bit more and try to get his deuce back to tie this game in end number 3.
Well, sometimes, of course, you try to, materialize to try to get your 2, and you get probably to the midway point of the end, and you say, well, it's just not materializing. So let's meet the Kendall Thompson team. As we mentioned, they curl at the Mayflower Curling Club. This is their lead, Jarrett Brown, the 26-year-old. Been curling for 19 years and is a sales electrical for Grey Bar Canada. And he wants to say hi to his mom and dad who are watching in Windsor. So we'll send well, we've got a lot of places covered. We have Okotoks, we have Calgary, we've got Windsor. I'm sure being the president and the owner-operator of the John Siteman Fan Club, you have some fans probably in other places of the country as well. So,
I think I had a few of our friends from the Lawn Bowls community tuning in from around here on TV1 this morning. I had a few messages from one of my friends, Corey Boudreau, who is probably watching this one too. He's is an avid curling fan as much as he is a Bowls fan. So Stuart just talking there with Colton and Travis just a little bit about that area. So there may be a bit of question as to how that spot moves.
of course, with this being Tiebreaker Saturday, this is the only game that's being played right now. And jumping in is Kendall Thompson. Actually going to relieve Brendan Laval. Can they get it over the hog line? Yeah, they'll squeeze it there. It'll be a longer when it comes to a rest, and getting in an extra little push as it went probably a little bit further than what they anticipated, but they're not taking any chances. And Stuart Thompson says, what stone are you guys talking about? Let's bring her in the rings.
Yeah, so Taylor's going to play a nice lightweight hit, just enough to get behind cover and get that stone at the back of the forefoot, just biting the button. Sweepers will need to work on this as much as they can to
that yellow
hold
one's
it by.
coming right up on them, and will they be by? Oh yes, by plenty.
Just enough.
By, yeah. By plenty in the curling world, John. By plenty in the curling world. Bumps the yellow back there.
Pretty close. I do favor Stewart for the single point, so it will necessitate the stone of Kendall's to try to draw pretty close to that result as well.
Here is Brendan Lavelle. We said he was, of course, filling in here for Jamie Danbrook. Now lives in Ontario. The 27-year-old. He has curled since the age of 8. He has 2 kids, Alex and Zach. And Zach was born in the summer of 27. Alexa is 2 years old. And he says hi to Marilyn and the kids back in Ontario. So we say hello for you, and we'll save you the price of a phone call and probably the time of sending an email or maybe even a Facebook message or Instagram or all those social media sites. So we'll do that for him. He's a little busy right now, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, so Travis, and now he's going to try to play a down weight hit onto the stones there at the 4 foot, try to get a bit of movement, especially on the front one, so that they can have a little bit of a path going toward the button. Needs to go here not to get some separation.
Bump, bump, and there goes the yellow towards the back and out. And they put one right close to the lid. The shot rock belonged to Kendall Thompson in 3, so once again, things started to pick up in terms of a lot of rocks in play, just like the way the first was.
And again, I think that kind of makes this game a little bit more interesting, because with more rocks in play, you have a little bit more room for error, and there's going to be some interesting results. It could make the game a little bit high scoring, almost similar to the game that they had in round 1. Kendall's going to go for that hit. Probably attempt to double out the 2 blue of Stuart Thompson.
Lavelle throwing a heater. Again, he'll spill the blues and the yellow goes out. Nicely done there. Guess when you think of as an alternate player or a fill-in player to make shots like that, you definitely know that he hasn't been just sitting a lot of time there on the couch watching curling and eating chips, that's for sure. Nice shot.
Brendan actually has a lot of experience here in Nova Scotia, having, again, played with Jamie Danbrook, as I believe his long time, I think it was his second. So he has the experience in making those big weight shots. It makes it a lot more challenging now, because here with this one of Travis's, he's really going to need to make the perfect hit and roll to get a result. Makes it really well done.
Yeah, just rolls it, like trying to get that one in the back, and it just goes by. Of course, it's out, but didn't want to jam on it, so it gives a little bit of a reaction here from the crowd here at the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Yeah, so with this type of ice, you're really going to have to play a bit more of a down weight to try to just tap that through. If you play like a backline-ish weight, maybe hack weight, it would be probably enough to get it to curl over to get it out. It needs to get by the guard, though.
Here's 31-year-old Bryce Everest. Been curling for 24 years. Started at the age of 7. An industrial engineer for Nova Scotia Power. And, of course, we talked earlier, his parents are watching back in Calgary, saying hello to them. And on a day where we have a lot of wind and a little bit of rain, 13 degrees outside, of course, had a storm there recently, and a lot of power outages in the area, and he was actually working in sort of like the call center part of it, of the storm recovery, so like being an industrial engineer on that. So we say kudos to him on the fine work to get everybody up and back going online and very quickly in very tough conditions. So
here with Colton's, he has a great opportunity to try to bury one again around the guard. If he can get one in a pretty similar position to their stone that they just had, it would make it really difficult to remove. It does come out a little bit out the other side, so it does give the opportunity for Kendall to call on Bryce Everest to go for the sort of a down weight hit, try to get around that and get to that stone that was just thrown.
Laval already on it here as we are into the third stones in 3. Kendall Thompson on top of brother Stuart Thompson. 2-0 as you see. It's the tiebreaker here at the 2018 Nova Scotia Men's Deloitte Tankard. Alongside John Siteman, my name is Dan Hobson. Right now, 1 yellow stone belonging to Kendall Thompson. Things were starting to look a lot of rocks in play, but a couple of nice shots, one by Laval a few seconds ago, and we're starting to have a little bit of a cleaner house as we get into the later stages of this end. Colton Steele here in 3.
So Colton's really trying to get a little bit of a better result compared to his last. It's going to need the weight to go here, so it may be a bit lighter than he had hoped.
Yeah, it's going to touch that. Going to touch that yellow one and block a little bit of the 4-foot area, but pretty well easily accessible maybe for Kendall to maybe come and put one down in between those two, or maybe even right in behind those two, and set himself up pretty good here for a score here, as he has, of course, maybe tried to prevent the steal as Stuart Thompson has the hammer here in 3.
It's going to be one of those interesting situations now where Stuart's going to have to play a few really good shots to try to get out of this end. Being that after this shot, Kendall's going to be sitting 3 there because the stone at the back is still counting. It may be what could manufacture a force. You have to play this one just perfect, or else you're going to have probably Stuart will have a few good hits to try to get out of this end.
Sweepers coming around, no problem. Now they're going to probably try to put it back in behind either one of those two as it comes to a rest, and just shy of the lid, but you see them. 1, 2, 3. Kendall Thompson lying 3 here in the third end. Win to get to the semifinal against Mark Dacey tonight, and lose, you go home.
Yes, this shot appears like, based on that ice, I don't know whether they're drawing or whether they're potentially playing a hit on those ones at the back. It's a chance. I'd guess more they're coming a bit down weight to try to get to that stone at the top of the button. It's challenging because we haven't gotten as much of the curl like that so far during this week. Needs to be a precise weight to get it effective.
And with that, you're going to need help from the sweepers. Ardeel Coulter already on it. Sweeping, of course, for their playoff lives, as I mentioned, and now they're sweeping really hard on this one. Just touch it, and it's going to, of course, make that go out the wings a little bit more. They want to bring that in, and now it will just sit there and pretty well easily open and accessible there for the Kendall Thompson team as we're in Skip Rocks here in 3.
It's going to be interesting here because I'm guessing based on how they're looking at it, they're worried that if you nose that, you're probably going to give Stuart a double to try to score his single point, which would be a good result for Kendall to get out of the end. Again, that being said, there's the possibility that how you line it up, you could also end up getting a triple out of it. So there's a few options. It all depends on where this stone lands.
Could be in for another high-scoring one. We saw 19 points put on the board in their game, the first draw on opening day. Right now, 2-0, and now, as you say, that one in the back 12, and they punch this blue one out. They'll be lying 4, and that's what Thompson will have to face. Whiff his last, but well, he'll kind of not help his cause out as that one that was in the back 12 where he's trying to count, and just like that gets rid of it and loses a shoot or two.
It was a little bit overthrown there, so it really, now it gives the opportunity that I think that they're going to try to at least draw to try to cut them down. With how Travis and Taylor are able to sweep as effective as they can, I would not be surprised to see them try to bite the edge of the button, and that would really potentially have the chance to score.
Final stone here for Stuart Thompson of the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Sweepers needing to work on this as much as they can there to bend it as far as possible. It's coming now. Oh, it's relatively close, but I kind of still favor yellow.
I do too. You see like a little bit of, well,
Just
if Steele would back up, but I know he needs to see it. Is he like a little?
I think I see a little bit of the blue at the edge of the Scotties logo there, which may be the difference. Yeah, it does appear like they have decided. So we'll have to see what it actually was there. I think it is one for Kendall Thompson.
Yes, Steele of 1. 3-0 as we play the fourth.
But again, this type of an early lead, as our viewers who tuned in this morning in the Brothers versus Breen game know, it seems no lead is safe when it comes to a playoff tiebreaker, as we already saw this morning with Breen coming back from 5-0 down at halftime to take it all to an extra end. Stuart is a offensive style team who can really pack the points on the board and really put the pressure on.
This one heavy. Will put the brakes on in time to stick around. Yes, it does. Right along the center line in the back 12. As we take a look at Taylor Ardeo, we've talked about his folks watching back in Okotoks, Alberta. He's a young pup, 24 years old, and he's curled for 12 years. He's an ice technician, and a 2011 Alberta Canada Games champion, 2014 Alberta Junior Provincial champion, bronze medals at the Nationals with Team Kyle Morrison, and they say that he's from Sokotoko, or AKA Okotoks. So we'll say Okotoka, Alberta, and he's got a fine mother, and last night she was pretty happy about the win, and so she's tuning in, and she's a marathon watcher. She's like supports pretty well everybody in Nova Scotia curling, and you know, is a big fan here of TV1's curling coverage, and glad to have her be watching.
Yeah, Taylor's been a great addition here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. He's been working for the past, I believe, about a year or two with Tracy Froud, who's our ice maker here. Applying the craft that is ice making. Sometimes it can be a thankless job because there's many curlers that when an error comes, the first person they'll blame is the ice maker.
One of the things
I did not notice that Tracy was behind me, so we will say though thanks to Tracy and the entire ice making crew for doing such a great job all week, because
good recovery, because you know that they're right over your shoulder. So I mean, good recovery. No, I was going to say, like last night, here was a win after their win against Murphy. Here is Taylor going around cleaning up, and you know, would have figured maybe try to leave the building as quick as you can, but no, here he is like cleaning up cans and stuff, and you know, so passionate about being here and passionate about the sport.
So now playing those hits, Kendall's now sitting 2, so you're going to probably see a bit of a downweight hit onto this stone at the top of the 8.
Here's a 26-year-old Travis Coulter, a project quotation specialist with Grey Bar Canada, a 2-time Nova Scotia provincial runner-up, 2012 with Mark Dacey, and 2017 with this current team. 2014 mixed doubles Nova Scotia provincial champion with White Julia. We'll see Julia later on. as she curls with the Kristen McDermott team, is the lead on that one. And, of course, Travis is a two-time Nova Scotia Junior Provincial runner-up in 2011 and 2012.
Yeah, Travis has really been a fixture both in the junior circuit now onto the men's circuit, and of course, as you mentioned, in mixed doubles. Really was one of those first teams that with Julia really started to specialize in that mixed doubles here in Nova Scotia, which has started to grow a little bit more as it becomes now an Olympic discipline. I believe they've been a few times there to the Nationals and have done fairly well.
Val had a nice shot in the previous end here as we are into the second stones. Kendall Thompson not just trying to win one, not two, but three here in a day to go to the final tomorrow against Jamie Murphy. But right now he's got a little bit of work to do, down to his older brother Kendall, 3-0.
Yeah, so Stewart now sitting the single. It's going to be interesting to see there. He's probably Travis is probably going to be called to play a little bit of a tap on that stone of his already there.
Kind of wish they sort of had like entrance music for like people, because this is a Stuart Thompson team, sharp dressers, so you can imagine they'd be coming out to ZZ Top, sharp dressed man with those nice little pants. Love those pants.
That's been something that you've seen a little bit on tour. I think one of the first ones to do that was probably Mike McEwen's team with their red pants that they would wear, and Stewart and his team wearing those teal pants have been the very you can definitely tell where they are when they're out on the ice here.
Did you ever like watch, like, of course, well, I'm asking you curling, you actually watched Nationals, of course you did, or like, you know, Worlds, and you see Norway, they had some pretty bright pants.
Yeah, they're probably the most sharp dressed style compared to what you normally see, and I think I saw a few very interesting patterns on that Team Olsrud rink at the Continental Cup of Curling happening this week in London.
Of course, I wouldn't wear them in public, but I'd wear them out on the ice for sure, yeah.
Well, I think the story actually went that they kind of originally wore them one game as like a joke, and it just happened that they liked them so much that
so they must have won.
It just became their thing, and they ended up making this it to the final of the Olympic Games in Vancouver with the pants, and it's been history ever since.
Well, you know, I guess these days sometimes fashion's a little bit important, because they say, well, you know, it's not really good curler, but boy, does he ever look good in his uniform, sort of thing. Maybe the mentality of looking like that. So
it has to be functional there. So, ooh, result there to sit second shot now is Stuart Thompson. So a little bit of a jam at the back that produces an opportunity for Colton to draw in and put some pressure on.
Stuart Thompson eyeing the situation here, communicating here with Colton Steele. The 25-year-old is a commercial banking analysis with Scotia Bank, 2015 Nova Scotia provincial champion team Glenn McLeod, two-time under 18, and there you get a look at him there in the hack. Under 18 Nova Scotia champion, 2010 Optimus International gold medalist, two-time Nova Scotia junior provincial runner-up, 2013 and 2012, and 2017 Nova Scotia provincial runner-up with this Stuart Thompson team.
Yeah, Colton's year winning the Tankard was the year that I sort of shocked everybody, because that was the year that the day after the final was when the roof at the Halifax Curling Club caved in, and that was the year, because of all the many snowstorms during that winter. It definitely became a memorable year of curling here in Nova Scotia.
Oh, that was the first time that I think you and I met, and all of a sudden weeks later hearing that story is like,
It was definitely shocking, after being that it was the day after the final that it ended up happening. Actually, no, it was a week after the final, 7 days after the final. Definitely a very strong player there, Colton Steele, and has been a fixture at this club for many years. It's an important draw here, trying to lock that onto the stone of Stewart's at the back of the 8-foot.
And it will just be a little light.
A little bit of separation there now, so you're going to see Colton called on to play a come-around draw, try to freeze onto that at the 4-foot.
Throw on its way here from Steele. Light brushing here from the front end, Ardeel and Coulter. Easily by that yellow. Starting to come around. Now they're dragging. You could hear Thompson giving encouragement, telling the team to go team, go. And look at that.
Beautiful freeze there from Colton. That really makes it very challenging to remove, if at all, because of that guard of Kendall's at the top area of it. It's still outside of the house, so it's not on your screen, but again, it's pretty much completely buried, so really great result. Yeah, there's no way that stone is getting out, so good result to try to force a potential multiple point end.
Had a chance to cover the second to last draw for Kendall Thompson, and things were starting to unravel, and the frustration sort of started to come back in, and he seems to be back on cue with what made him successful in the early going here of these championships, as we see his throw here in 3.
It's going to be, you can stop there.
Whoa, geez, anything you could do, I could do better. Puts it right on the lid. It's like, well, okay, bro, what do you got?
All I can say with how tight the game is, I can definitely say I would not want to be their parents, who I currently see over there on at ice level, with camera in hand watching the action between the two siblings. Also wouldn't want to be Selena, who couldn't be here for this one. She was a bit nervous for the two brothers.
Yep, back-to-back nice shots. You see the one good freeze and then follows up, put it right on the lid. But
and you're probably going to see a bit more of a down weight here. That stone of Kendall's is removable.
Ardeel, Coulter on it. Steele holding the broom. Stuart Thompson calling line, easily by. Punches it out. And look at that, sets 1-2.
And that's a really good result there now, because you're still sitting 2 and pretty much buried. There are possibilities there that can get it, that yellow that is clumped in between the two blues could be removed and still stay in play. So setting up for a good potential multiple. So Kendall's really going to need to make this freeze just perfect, or else you could see a 3 put right back up on the board and tie this game up.
Final stone for the Kendall Thompson team and then the Mayflower Curling Club. Started off these championships with 3 straight wins and then went 3 straight losses and 1 last night to McDougall.
Looks
hoping
a
to
little
freeze.
bit wide here. Oh, coming down now.
There you go. So
So you're probably still going to see a pretty similar shot. Actually, you can see a bit more weight here because of the fact that now, even if you hit it pretty hard, you can get to the nose of that, have the yellow move out, and the blue right behind is going to jam and still stay in for third shot. There's a few jam possibilities, which could result in the 3 that he needs to tie this game.
Final stone for Stuart Thompson, curling out of his hometown Dartmouth Curling Club. They've exchanged freezes. Now he's hoping to get rid of that yellow stone just thrown by Kendall and get himself for a good multiple score. Can he do it? Look at that.
Great
yes,
result.
sir, for 3. And the claps around here tell you that story. Even Steven as we head to 4.
And that was a little bit of emotion there from Stuart. You don't tend to see a little bit of that stuff like you just saw there. Just a little bit of excitement from him to tie up the game at 3-all.
Yeah, as we head to the 5th, pardon me. So, of course, we had the blank in 2, and, of course, the steal in 3. So
all tied up at 3-all, so great shot from Stuart. He's shown why he's one of the top teams in this province, one of the top skips in this province. Having made the final here before, he's determined to get back here and do it again.
Yeah, so we head to the 5th here in a 3-3 game. It was promised to be an exciting one, and it is. Kendall Thompson got 2 with the hammer in 1, and then a blank in 2, and a steal in 3, and Stuart Thompson with 3 and 4 as we head to end number 5. 3-3, so far the first 4 ends down by the wayside. So here we are into the 5th end. Beautiful game between the Battle of the Thompsons, and as you see, 5th end. So now, of course, Kendall Thompson
just scrapes by here with that first stone.
As the hammer throwing the yellow stones.
So it seems like based on the calls this early, they're setting up to be a pretty action-packed end here. Stuart seems to be calling for his lead, Taylor Ardeal, to come and freeze into that stone there.
As they sweep over and get on the rock. The front end going hard as much as they can here on this one. Coming around, we'll sit in behind the yellow and we'll rest in time to be shot. No, we'll be back 8 to be second shot.
Yeah, definitely not what they wanted there. They really wanted it to be frozen up to that top stone. Being that it's behind the tee line, it gives the opportunity that you can play a freeze onto that and make it very challenging to score. So you'll probably see, because of that, if they can't make the draw again, you'll see a few more hits to try to get out of this end.
Once again, more rocks in play. Looks to be the modus operandi for these teams, but they have basically sort of gotten used to the new style of play with the free guard zone. It's not really new anymore. It's been around for a while, but of course they have basically made it so that they're, driven by offense. So even when they try to get in defensive mode, it's just automatically there for them to still play offensively.
And that style has been seen very commonly in the men's game, especially when you have like for example, Brad Jacobs, who are able to make those aggressive shots all the time, and you have to be able to make those precise, aggressive shots each and every end, because when you're not able to play aggressive, that's when you'll lose opportunities to score big points and potentially make big changes in your game.
Two Kendall Thompson stones in the 4-foot area, and they're pretty well easily accessible. So, but Kendall Thompson trying to figure out a plan here for his second Brendan Lavelle.
Yeah, Kendall's a bit worried there because it's flat enough that you can probably when you have either Travis or Colton throwing up, you can probably double those two out pretty easily. So the question is, how can you protect? Or if you can't protect both of them, which stone do you try to protect more?
Well, of course, you can see a little more conversations. Didn't have a lot of conversations in the first 4 ends. So a little bit of one here between Kendall and Brendan.
So it looks like they've settled on which guard to throw here. It pretty much, I think you kind of had to try to guard the high stone there, because if you don't, it pretty much makes it a bit challenging to guard against the double. But it is heavy.
Yep, you mentioned it. I'll spill that yellow back 4 now, so they'll sit 1, 2, and then the Thompson stone 3. Actually, they'll sit 3, and I'll say the 4th stone is Thompson's there. So
yeah, you're probably going to see.
Yeah, I'm going to say that again.
It is the 3 there,
yep.
So you're going to see for this one, you're going to see a double here from, I believe it's Colton throwing in this one. So it runs pretty straight in this area, so you're going to see him probably have a good chance to make this one. Oh no, this is Travis, so he will still be pretty effective at this one.
Yeah, the middle here of Coulter and Steele, they can really throw the big weight and peel when they have to. Nice little bailout there, bang bang. Steele going to try to get that yellow out as he brushes and does, and as you mentioned, as we talked about, they can, whenever they need to get out of jams, nice to have that in your repertoire. And case in point, cleans things up here in 5.
So now that does give the opportunity for Kendall to be able to try to come around the guard of Stewart's at the just outside the top of the 12-foot. If he doesn't place this perfect, again, that probably gives the opportunity for Stewart to get a hit and roll.
Slight sweeping now. Have to try to push it deep in behind that blue guard, and it will come to a stop in the back 12, but buried. As you see, with a little, about half buried, you see.
Yeah, so they're looking at playing the hit there on that stone, but the question is, how far do you roll? To me, I think you pretty much roll to exactly where Stewart has his brush there, about to the back of the 8-foot. You have to be careful that you don't roll to the point where it would potentially allow a double. Again, that's very difficult with the position that they are and how far you would have to roll.
They'll have a conversation, as you can hear it. Colton Steele, and getting to the later stages of 5 here in a 3-3 tie. Kendall got 2 with hammer in 1, and he stole in 3, made a blank in 2, and Stuart Thompson with a 3 and 4. Punches, pushes the yellow stone back, or blue stone right on, and pushes the yellow out, so good result.
Yeah, good result still. now he pretty much sits the 2. I'm guessing that stone at the edge of the 12-foot is out. But again, that being said, I don't believe we know exactly the full dimension. Sometimes it can be a bit deceiving as to what is in and what is out on that one.
Val giving it slight cleaning. A hit and a little roll towards the button. Be shot rock for the meantime here for the Kendall Thompson team out of the Mayflower Curling Club.
And now playing a little bit more of this hit style game, it does certainly favor Stuart Thompson and his team, simply in the fact that now he's able to play for the force here in 5. And then if you go pretty much back and forth, you would have hammer in 6, 8, and 10. Which in a 10-end game of curling, you kind of want to have the hammer in the even ends.
Coulter getting on it.
Just nudges it, but still sits the 3, which is good.
Just nudges that blue one, as you mentioned. And sometimes, of course, a certain position on the teams is usually determines how, if a team comes away with a win or a loss. You know, sometimes we talked last night about the thirds, and it was Colton Steele versus Paul Fleming, and a key position. Do you think it's going to be pretty well the same, or do you think this is going to be a skipper's duel, Stewart versus Kendall? They'll go shot for shot here in this one.
It's a bit challenging there because Bryce, though he does play extremely well, I think it truly, this will pretty much be settled by the skips themselves, because both of them are exceptional shot makers to the point where the least bit of an error on the last rocks at the ends could be what is the difference to separate the two brothers as to who will go on to play in the semifinal. I would kind of give the edge coming into this match to Stewart, but Kendall has been playing extremely well all week, even with the little bit of a losing streak that he went on midway through.
Nose hit as we're in the skip rocks here in this fifth in break. Within seeing distance for both the teams. And probably, well, the first 5 have been dandy. We're going to have probably a second half going to be a dandy as well. So, you know, it must be, as I say, it must be hard here for the Thompson family here, you know, seeing, you know, both brothers going at it. And, you know, one's dream, of course, you know, to get to the final coming to an end here this afternoon with a loss. It's, you know, not the situation I would like to be in.
It's definitely not the situation that you'd want to be in, being the Thompson family, but I know that they're very close, and will whoever comes out of this match will be supported by the other all the way, whether it's a journey that ends in the semifinals, or whether potentially it could be a trip back to face Jamie Murphy in the final. It's a long trek for either of them, as they still have a long way to go to see who will be able to come out of this one.
Final stone for Stuart Thompson without hammer here in 5. He had hammer in 4 and got hit 3 to tie things up.
Yeah, this pretty much comes into the game plan of Stewart now. It gives the ability to force to that single, and then now you really have a control position going into the second half of the game.
Yeah, it just pretty well needs like even 8, or he wants to, you know, attempt to see his draw weight just even 4 here and get a single point, as he's well, there's a situation that he faces here as he throws his final stone here. The Kendall Thompson team skipped by Kendall Thompson out of the Mayflower Curling Club.
Sweeper just dusting this one, so it looks a little bit heavy.
Well, they want to put the brakes on. He puts his broom right up to his mouth, and if this sails out,
he's going to sweep that as much as he can there. That could be a big
it
change
hold
here.
on in time?
I think that it's a steal of one up there. I believe the stone at the top of the 12-foot is the shot stone.
Yeah. Well, anything you could do, I could do better. Kendall stolen 3, and this time Stewart steals in 5. And he'll take a lead of 4-3 as we head into the 5th end break. Definitely not for what Kendall Thompson wanted to go into the break. He wanted to go in maybe with a little bit of a positive, but he's going to have to shake that off and come back out in about 4 minutes here. And basically, all of a sudden, for the first time in this one, trailing after pretty well either tied or leading the first half. So
yeah, he kind of had a little bit of a result that he thought that he was going to get coming out of that, and to have that little bit extra weight was what resulted in a big difference. We'll see how he can rebound in the second half. It's going to be a challenge as Stewart's playing extremely well along with the rest of his team.
5th end break time here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. We'll be back here with the 6th end here on Bell 5 TV 1, back in 4.
I'd say so. That's what it looked like outwardly. To be honest with you, I left and I couldn't watch anymore. I was going to go somewhere and he got 3. I was like, okay, that's good. Fine, whatever I don't watch, you guys do better. I don't know what it is.
Maybe shooting. You should have got it there.
You could hear him grunting. I gave him shit for that. I was like, don't sweep that way. I can strip salt that way. I was like, at least sweep forward with the rock. You do realize that he was grunting. You hear the grunting down here. I'm pretty sure you started going, everything you had in him. I was like, okay, I think you're working on it.
He thinks that like an old head. Just imagine if we weren't. Imagine if we weren't sponsored.
So we need 1. Would you tell me?
1 minute, guys. 1 minute left.
What do you need? What do you need? Okay. I was gonna say I'll get you something. You need something. Colton's hands won't work. They're too wide.
your jerkle. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, energy drink. Keep it going, bud.
It's better than the normal arms. I think it tastes way better.
Whenever you gentlemen are ready.
Here, it's in the room.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the tiebreaker action here on Saturday afternoon here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. Pretty good first half there from both Stuart Thompson and Kendall Thompson to take us to this 4-3 match. We definitely picked a good one there to commentate on, Dan, and I think that we're going to see a pretty good second half.
Yeah, it's a lot up for grabs here, of course, with these teams. So basically a playoff tomorrow and the final tomorrow, and then they have to play Dacey tonight. It's as I said, for Stuart Thompson, that's a tough schedule.
Yeah, it's certainly high stakes this weekend, being that Stuart has to go through now 2 tiebreakers and a semifinals against teams that he could have easily been playing in a final situation, all to keep his opportunity to go to the 2018 Tim Hortons Brier at the Brandt Center in Regina alive, to hopefully wear the Nova Scotia colors in the 16-team field. Certainly playing well early in this one.
Well, my thoughts about this was that if Kendall wanted to win this, he was going to have to probably try to get a lead early and try to carry it. But if Stuart gets a lead, he's tough to defend.
Yeah. Stuart, once he gets into a groove, he's almost like the Jill Brothers team that we saw this morning, where once you get a lead and Stuart gets the ability to harness that hitting ability of Travis Coulter and Colton Steele, being able to take out anything in sight. Generally, when you give those guys a hit, they're not going to miss. And when you have a team like this who qualified for this event based on their record on tour, it truly shows that they have the ability to make those hits and get the wins from it.
Some ends we've seen some good amount of rocks in play. Others still good amount of number in play, but not as much. So hasn't been really what you say a defensive battle. They've pretty well said, well, I'm going to go with what got me to the dance, and that's offensive, chances and lots of rocks in play. So, basically at the end of the day, whatever the result is. So line 2 right now is Thompson here as we are in the 6th. Stuart Thompson, of course, has the blue stones, and Kendall Thompson the yellow stones. As we take a look at Brendan Laval. And he'll be asked to peel the guard. And does. Kendall has the hammer here in 6. As we take a look here at Travis Coulter, thing that is that this team has sort of stuck together. Of course, Taylor Ardeo was with Dexter last year. The opening came up for the lead, and he came over pretty well. It was a transition just like that over the summertime. It popped up, and it's like, maybe this team is going to be probably a contender here for these championships, and here they are.
And it's one of those opportunities that Taylor had, being that though he had an extremely strong team there with Paul Dexter, being able to come in with a group of guys who have been contenders for at the top of the rankings for many years, the past few years at least, and are ones who will be perennial contenders for years to come. Being able to have a plan to be with this team for a while and really make an impact both at the provincial and national level. They're a team to watch out for as they get through the next few years, whether maybe winning this event this year or they'll be future contenders either way.
Well, we'll take everybody back to last year. Championships, of course, were in Mayflower, and they made the lineup change, and of course, Billy McPhee was not available to play, so they had to play with 3 until they got to the weekend. So that was tough for them. So they don't seem to make it easy. They had 3 people playing during most of the round robin last year, and this year another number 3 pops up. 3 games, and you have to win 3 to get to the final to play Murphy tomorrow afternoon.
And that year you had a very, though it would seem like a bit of an extra challenge, having 3 talented shot makers like Stewart, Colton, and Travis playing that combo, it truly was what got them to the final, and has given them now a good team, even better now adding Taylor Ardeel to the lineup. They're showing that they can contend, and they're still in tough with 5 ends to go. It's going to be a dramatic finish, but certainly playing well.
Yeah, for the folks that just tuned in, if you missed it off the top, they faced each other in the first draw here of the championships on Tuesday, and Kendall came away with a 10-9 win. So, as you say, it could be high scoring, and it could come down to the last rock. Trying to block things here is the Stuart Thompson team, and that will come to a rest, but Kendall Thompson will come out and thinking about trying to split things and open things up here, so maybe a little big weight shot here from Bryce Everest on its way. There it is, and of course Lavelle right on it right away. Big weight shot from Everest. 1, and will roll over to the wings and get out of the way. Did he get out of the way enough? No, he'll put it right there to the other yellow stone that belongs to the Kendall Thompson team. Rolls it right there, as you see, pretty well close together. Maybe a little bit of separation, probably by about 1 page length.
Yeah,
close together.
There's still about half a rock of separation there, so it is a good opportunity now here for Stewart to try to block off that side and force Kendall over to the side that he hasn't been playing as much during this game. Again, that could be a little bit of just a feel of which part of the ice is better for them. So it plays it really well into an effective game plan to try to steal another or put the pressure on Kendall to force to a single. Dragging it all they can here. Good result.
Yeah, just pretty well, just 1 port there for Kendall to come through. The blue that's right on the center line and those 2 yellows to the side. And, to get through to the 4-foot area, but of course most of the shot rocks are on the other side that are a little bit buried. So
Yeah, this is one of those paths now that it's a tight port, but it's a port that is there. It will take some sweeping effectiveness and a little bit of what I would call patient sweeping, because you really have to not oversweep enough to the point where it would jam on the front. You have to know that though these rocks haven't been curling as much this week, they will break once they start to hit the curl and start to move. You just have to know that they're going to move and trust it, so that when it does, you're able to get the curl.
yeah, Kendall Thompson up calling line in the front end, working hard here. Brown and Lavelle, Everest holding broom. Team shot needed, and they're going to come by that port. Maybe nick that blue one, and they will just come to a stop. The 8-foot area to be second and third shot, with the shot rock belonging to the Thompson team of the blue handle stone here as we move along here in the 6th end.
So being that Stewart is now saying shot stone, the question is really what way can you force Kendall into a shot that would be a bit more challenging, that he hasn't really thrown as much. I think if I were in this situation, I'd be trying to force Kendall over to the in-turn draw, which, because of where you're positioned at the edge of the 4-foot, is a really challenging spot. So you'd really want to try to place it a very high guard, almost just over the hog line on the AMJ Campbell logo. Then it forces over to a side that hasn't been used as much, and it could really be a challenging spot to try to bite a bit more of the 4-foot for that single point. Good execution of the game plan to try to potentially drag out a multiple point end.
Taylor Ardale and Stuart Thompson, and you just saw seconds ago, we're talking about this shot, making sure that everybody's on the same page. And we've seen sometimes where all of a sudden, like you talked about, you know, directional sweeping, if they know what shot's coming, so then they know how we're going to sweep it properly. And sometimes when they're not on the same page, all of a sudden they sweep the wrong ways and
yeah, that's
not on the same page on things.
That's what has been the real challenge when changing that to that style of sweeping. You have to be very careful to know where you need to go in order to get the right type of sweeping to either keep a rock straight or curl it. So it looks like they had originally had some thoughts about potentially changing their call, but I think that they've gone back to the pretty similar call that they had first.
Well, so far in this game, it has been like clean in terms of no picks yet. There have been some picks and some later ins and even early ins right around the 4th. Like Murphy had a pick in their game last night against the Stuart Thompson team. But so far, nothing in the pick category on the board yet, and that's the way we like it, and hope it stays that way. Starting to curl, Ardale, Coulter.
Looking to guard that path there as best they can.
Well, look at that. Right there. And now they'll come over just a little bit more.
Makes that spot extremely challenging.
We have the port even smaller now. There it is. Almost like basically saying, well,
It's interesting because they're kind of looking at the position of trying to maybe run back one of the stones of Stewart's.
That's pretty well all their choice. All they got is those 2 yellows and everything else is blue.
Yeah, pretty much the option goes that they have to play that the slash run. And if they can run blue into yellow, they could score. There are 2 that they need to get the lead back, which would be a great result. It's a very difficult shot to get perfect. I just don't know that with the amount of ice that they have and the amount of availability of the rock that you're going to get enough to get over to it.
Final stone for Kendall Thompson of the Mayflower Curling Club.
Sweeper's not touching this one.
Well, that's unable to get through, but he'll Stuart Thompson will get a steal of 1. Stuart Thompson will lead 5-3 as we head to the 7th. Kendall will keep the hammer.
And that's definitely really playing well to the game plan of Stuart Thompson, of being able to, now that he's up by 2, he can sort of start to play a little bit more of the hit style game and really limit the opportunities of Kendall to manufacture some offense by not allowing as many rocks in play. That being said, the least bit of a mistake and it causes a whole bunch of shifts in this matchup.
Started off very well here for the Kendall Thompson team. He had 2 in 1, and he stole in 3, but since the 3rd in, it has been all Stuart Thompson with a 3 in the 4th, steal of 1 in the 5th, and a steal of another one here in the 6th that just went by. So just like that, 5-3 as we play the 7th. If you're just joining us, it's tiebreaker day here on Bell 5 TV1. Glad you can join us.
So now it's a bit more of a conventional style result there. Stewart bringing a rock right into the house, and Kendall now calling for the corner guard, guarding on now the right side of your screen. You're probably going to see either a center guard next or coming right in and locking onto the stone that is right there. So you are seeing a call for the center guard. However, that being said, once the free guard zone is out of play, they're probably going to start some hits.
Well, this is where they get tough, as all of a sudden they get the lead and make their opposition have to chase them. And we've talked about it earlier, of course, with the big weight that Coulter and Steele can throw. I mean, when it gets to the hit game, there's nobody better than those two for the 2nd and the 3rd positions in Nova Scotia. Of course, Zachary and Paul Fleming have a lot to say about that with the Jamie Murphy team, and Andrew Gibson and Burgess as well for Dacey. So the importance of those positions, and of course those players playing well, are pretty well why we are where we're at right now. On Tuesday, we started off with 8 men's teams, the best in the province, the best of the best, and we're starting to basically eliminate some of the field, and we're now pretty well down to 4 teams left. Thompson, Kendall Thompson, Stuart Thompson, Dacey, and one of those 3 teams that I just mentioned will have a chance to take on Jamie Murphy tomorrow in the final.
And it's a big weekend again because of simply the fact that now we're starting to see problems as determining their representatives for the Tim Hortons Brier. It's going to be a bit of a bigger field this year compared to what people have seen in the past, as they've now made that the relegation that was there for many years is now done away with, and all provincial organizations will have an entry along with Team Canada. And to make it that they have an even field, they are adding a wild card into the Nationals, which will be the top team that the top 2 teams playing off that did not win their provincial championships. So some teams, depending on how high they are in the rankings, could get the chance at redemption.
Well, these days with amateur sport, it's so hard to fundraise. Like, you want to go to, be one of the tops in your province. You need pretty well the sponsorship, and you see it with the, of course, with the Stuart Thompson team, with the sponsorships that they have on their shirts there and everything. So they hit up the business community just to get, of course, everything to be financially backing to support your team. And then you come to a championship and you basically go through a hard, long schedule. And at the end of the day, 1 team is left standing after 8, and then all of a sudden you go to the national championship to play a win to get in type of thing.
Yeah.
It's just so hard. It's
Yeah, it produces a bit of challenges there, and the benefit being simply the fact that sometimes a few of these, it allows the ability that some of these ones that are top level national and international level teams are who may have some upset in their provincial level end up getting the chance to redeem themselves and get a spot back in the field. Because if I remember correctly, a few of these teams would be like John Epping and Reed Carruthers would have been in the wild card last year if that format had been in play, and Jennifer Jones would have been in the women's one at Scotties if that had been in. Those ones having not been able to win their provincial event last year. It's revolutionizing the event a little bit, giving the opportunity that everybody has the chance to compete rather than
the
be
format is
relegated.
a lot better than what it was.
A lot of people didn't like simply the relegation and the fact that they weren't able to have every province represented at the national level.
Yep. So they made the adjustment, and of course, that's what the remaining 4 teams are playing for to go represent Nova Scotia at the Briar. And well, you go what makes what brings you to the dance. You go with once again, and you would figure maybe shutdown mode here for the Stuart Thompson team of the Dartmouth Curling Club, and not so much. Take a look, one big lineup of yellow and blue mess there in front of the house.
Yeah, they're really playing with the style that has gotten them here of playing extra aggressive. Being that there's more rocks in play, there's more possibilities of errors on the side of Kendall, in that he has to make a lot more shots to become in a position where he can win the matchup. And he's being put a lot more under pressure by the younger brother, I believe, if I remember correctly, of the Thompson family. So you're going to see here, there's going to be a lot of granite moving. You need to clear up that front to have the chance to make a few shots. So the next few will probably be peeling a bunch of rocks out.
Let's watch everything go in all kinds of directions from the hand of Brendan Lavelle. Well, we'll just actually punch some blue to the side, and, well, it's a little cleaner, but guess what's your thoughts on that shot? It's did it get what they didn't really get what they really accomplished?
Yeah, they definitely didn't get the result that they had hoped for, because now I think Stuart's going to probably ignore that, as he's just shown there. He's, I think, planning on drawing into the 4-footer button area, and that pretty much puts it that you have it behind 2 really well placed stones.
Yeah,
and it puts a big challenge.
Yeah, that first one is right covered there, and the thing is that with that yellow stone that belongs to Kendall Thompson outside of that below, that it's not really sort of helping. It's that yellow one that I'm talking about. You'll see it in your picture. There it is, and the sweeping done here by the Stuart Thompson team, and starting to take control. But I think this is sort of how the week has kind of gone for Stuart Thompson, not just in terms of the wins and losses, is that doesn't really quite break out of the gates very quick, but then all of a sudden he gets a break, capitalizes it, and makes it really difficult, and has come away with wins here at the championships. So just off to a slow start, but then finishes strong. So once again, the adage in sport, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and he's hoping to finish strong.
Yeah, he definitely has in a lot of his games he hasn't really started off as fast as he usually would compared to how he's played on tour. But again, as you said, he does finish extremely well and picks it up after the 5th end break and really plays super consistent. He's coming up clutch for his team, and his team is really backing him up well to keep this game really tight with them in the lead.
Jared Brown and Brendan Lavelle didn't lay much of a brush on this. It's all by itself. And it's going to sail towards the back. Back 8. As he puts his thinking cap on in a 2-point game. Blue's out front, and of course the blue, the shot rock, so he's looking pretty good here. Of course, Kendall Thompson with the Yellowstones has a hammer here in 7, as you see. There is Steele once again.
So Colton trying to play around the guards, try to get as close as possible to getting to that one at the back of the 8-foot. It's drifting just a little bit now to get it through the port. Question is to wait to get it down onto that yellow at the back. Sweeper's working on it as best they can.
Yeah, sits 2 now without hammer, Stuart Thompson.
And it's neat to see as well with this game. Not only is it the battle of the brothers, it's also the battle of the former teammates themselves. Because at the junior level, Stewart was actually the lead for Kendall back in 2011 when they won the junior provincial title and had their trip to the Canadian Junior Championship.
Big weight here. Is he going to try to run back and spill some of those out and puts it in the hands of Bryce Everest?
Oh, big weight there and clears out a bunch.
Clears out a bunch, but still one blue belonging to Stuart Thompson, and now completely buried by that blue one. And of course, there's like a double guard. There's that yellow one that's belonging to the Kendall Thompson team in front of it. So,
so you're probably going to
good news, bad news shot.
You're probably going to see here now. Stewart's trying to draw pretty much top 8. He can afford it to be a little bit in the open too, because it does sort of block the draw as well. It would force, depending on how you place it, could force Kendall into a tap on his own stone on the other side. Pretty good result early.
Skip Brock says we are into end number 7. Hear him going hard. Stuart Thompson calling line. Steele at the brush in the front end of Ardeel and Coulter dragging it. And once again, they sit 2.
Yeah, that was a very fortunate rub there for Stuart Thompson. It just nudged a little bit on the edge of that guard and gave them enough to be able to make it through. So now, as mentioned, it forces now Kendall's going to play the angle raise. Pretty much, it's almost, you have to raise it full 4 foot is where you need. If you get that, you score your points.
Well, you made that sound like that was easy.
Oh, it went. I'm sure he's made it a few times here and there. Has 2 attempts at it there, as this is his first there.
Brown and Lavelle going for a Saturday afternoon walk with the rock here. Not a brush laid to it.
They need to wait on it, but
can they push that blue one out enough? Yes, they do.
Good result.
Second, yeah, that's a good result. Second shot.
However, as well, it also could be interesting because now I would not be surprised to see if I were Colton, I'd be pretty much saying to Stewart, you played really well on that spot. That being said, it's challenging to get back in there. You're sitting at 1 already. why don't you just block up that side and force your brother into playing the other side where he hasn't played a draw as much and the draws that he has had in that one have not been as effective. So you're going to see there as Colton just put the brush down. They won on that 4-foot line. And if you can get a good result out of that to guard up that side, you're drawing pretty much half into the 4-foot for the single.
Final stone for Stuart Thompson here in 6. Kendall has the hammer here in the 7th. The Thompson versus Thompson battle. First 3 ends, it could have gone either way, but since then, Thompson with the hammer got 3 in the 4th, a steal of 1 in the 5th, and a steal of 1 in the 6th to break away from brother Kendall. And that's where we stand right now as we are into the late stages of end number 7. 10-4 victory for Stuart Thompson over Chad Stevens this morning to get himself into this one. So hoping to put have a good afternoon, good morning, and a good night day. So far, the good morning has been successful with the win over Stevens.
Yes, now this, again, as we mentioned, now forcing Kendall to play the other side. He needs to draw a full 4-foot, or at least half in the 4-foot, and that gets him his single. Still a challenging area because he hasn't played it as much. I'm just noticing on Facebook there, Selena must be tuning in there because she's letting people know about the scores of this game.
Well,
a very proud sister.
This doesn't look good here for the Thompson team. As this looks way heavy. But it will sail to the back.
And another single point for Stuart Thompson to take a 6-3 lead.
Yeah, Stuart Thompson will take a 6-3 lead as we head to the 8th. It's 3 straight steals. As Kendall Thompson with his last one came heavy, so we head to the 8th.
Yeah, so you're going to need to see here that Kendall's going to need to try to score at least a 2 here. If you can try to score a 3 to get back in the game even right from in one end, that would be great. If you have to take 2 and force a steal out of this Stuart Thompson rink, that would also be a challenge that would be a good result for Kendall.
Well, if you're Stuart Thompson, you're right where you want to be because you're up by 3, of course, in the 8th, and may want to have hammer, but still be in control of this game, basically, and we've mentioned it earlier, and not to sound like a broken record, but they just peel very well, so if they decide to put it on defense mode, it's this Kendall Thompson team is going to have to make sure that they pretty well make every shot to probably try to get back and claw back into this one. That's just the reality, and all of a sudden it's got to be. If you're a Kendall Thompson fan, we have some, of course, online and everything. This has got to be really sort of, off to a good start. They were in the driver's seat. One of the only unbeaten teams at once, and then now all of a sudden, if things don't turn around here quickly, you could find yourself not even getting to the semis. And if you saw that happening, that would be would be a surprise, of course, based on the start that they had.
And they had a very great start and a little bit of a frustrating finish, even having to play in this tiebreaker, because they had such a great run going. Coming into the tournament, they were expected to be the potential surprise team that would make an impact, and they truly have, having He had big wins over some really top-notch teams.
22-6 in the regular season on the World Tour. Of course, that doesn't accumulate some of the other, bond spiels and cash spiels that they play in. And, a couple of third-place finishes, one at the Dave Jones Curling Cash Spiel and the Bud Light Men's Cash Spiel. So, yeah, it has been a breakthrough year for them for sure. But there was also another team that had a breakthrough a couple of years ago, and we're watching it, the Stuart Thompson team. So, they're going to have to, sometimes you may have to take a little bit, learn your bumps and get along the way and take a look where they're at now. So, basically they're so not only just brothers, but, similar paths that they're taking to, get success here. And to get to, where they're at right now, which we're getting into, 4 teams pretty well left and 3 once this one is done. Come in here and do very well. Maybe disappointed at how it started and, of course, the finish, but should basically walk out of these championships with their heads held high. They played very well the entire week.
Oh, yeah, they definitely can. And again, that being said, it's still long from over because Kendall, as we've seen, has the ability to score the multiple-point end and has been able to do it well. If he can manufacture an end where he can get behind that corner guard and use it to his advantage, you could see him get at least 2 back, and that would really put a change in this matchup. Needs to go here, so drag it as far as they can.
Yeah.
It's not going to get in the house, but it's going to be a good spot setting up a double guard.
Brown with a little bit of extra work there to get it the extra few feet. And, of course, right now, that one long guard that's not in Thompson's favor, Stuart Thompson's favor right now. He just wants it out of play, and I'll put it in the hand of Travis Coulter. And you can see,
looks pretty good.
Throws the big weight. Yes, it's gets it. Yeah, look. Hop there, Stuart. Hop as we had to almost get out of the way of that one.
Yeah,
a good little skip to my Lou, I guess you could say.
A little bit close for comfort, but made the shot, which was the great result that he needed.
Yeah, like all of a sudden people really like to jump up and down on an ice surface. That's just great things are just going to happen when you have to do that.
Well, there actually have been times in curling history here in Canada that there was actually one. Actually, it was a world championship that was decided because it was Canada USA in the gold medal game. 10th end, Team USA had a guy jump up as he was excited that he thought he had won the world title. Ended up kicking a rock out and it forced an extra end, and they ended up losing it in the extra. So you do see it happen. Yes, and now with those 2 of Stewart's, it'll be interesting to see there. I would guess that you'll see a hit on this stone of Kendall's here to try to sit the 3. If you can roll over a little bit, it would make it a bit challenging to try to get to that pocket.
Yeah, this one is a little bit more clean than probably what we've seen throughout the rest of the. Whoa, he, of course, looked like he was about ready to throw, but makes a quick adjustment on that is Colton Steele.
Yeah, he's taking a little bit of an adjustment there. So Colton going for the hit. Looks pretty good from here.
Ordeal on the brush there for the Stewart team. Picks it out, bumps the blue, but hey, if you're by 3, whoop-de-doo, eh?
Honestly, it's a much better position now because it was a lot easier to remove those stones where it wasn't in that position. Now that you get it to a roll where it is, it's now behind a guard completely to where you can't really access it, and it makes it a lot more challenging to force a a multiple score out of Stuart Thompson to try to get Kendall back in the game.
There's Bryce Everest as we play on here in end number 8. Six straight Stuart Thompson points. That's pretty well. That's a couple of streaky teams that we talked about here at the championships. Of course, you know, with the run that Kendall went on, and now all of a sudden it's a little bit streaky here with scoring. Like we started off with, of course, the 2 by Kendall in the first, and then he had a steal in 3-0. Looked to be comfortably in front, but Stuart Thompson 6 straight points. 3, of course, with the big end in 4, and then steals in 5, 6, and 7.
So now you're going to see they're going to probably peel off the guard here, which is a good call there. And being up by 3 without last rock, pretty much anything that is not your color can be used against you, and good result there from Colton to peel out that guard. I wouldn't be surprised to see, based on just where he's looking at, there's the possibility of freezing to either the yellow of his own or... Yeah, it does look like he's going to go over to that side, and then that makes it a bit easier to play later in the end as a setup shot to try to get your multiple point. And you really do need the 2 here in order to get back into it. You definitely can't allow another steal, for sure.
Another guard placed here by Bryce Everest.
Good result. A little bit tighter of a guard than what we've seen in the past there from Team Kendall Thompson. So it appears like Colton is looking at trying to convince for the draw to freeze to that stone at the top of the 4-foot.
Getting to the later stages, we haven't really talked about the time clock because they've been playing pretty quickly. 14:26, 11:56 for the Stuart Thompson team and ticking. So, yeah, they're going to be A-OK for time. Just a lot of quick ends there.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the style that both of these two teams play. They really play a quick style that they don't use up much time. So, definitely not a surprise at all. Especially Stuart. Stuart tends to be a pretty decisive player. Knows pretty much what he wants to play before he even has to see the rock come to rest.
Light brushing there from Ardeel and Coulter. So you see Steele holding the broom here for this team of the Dartmouth Curling Club. Will it come to a stop in time? Kendall Thompson team brush it, but they'll come to a stop there in the back 12.
So, though it is fourth shot, it still is a good result because now it really puts a question as to where do you try to roll to make it effective. You're going to have to try to... If I were in this situation, I would be rolling almost to where Kendall just showed over there behind those 3 stones on the far right of your screen. Then that makes it very difficult for Stuart to try to force you out, and then you get a potential for at least 2. If you don't make it perfect, it makes it really challenging to even score at all.
Sometimes you got to have your head on a swivel in this sport, and we just seen Bryce Everest go looking from side to side there as Thompson gets ready to throw his first of 2 here in 8.
Yeah, so third, you always have to have the plan B shot just in the case that your skip doesn't get the shot that they had hoped. Sweepers watching this one
Starting
here.
to go. Light cleaning. Punch out the blue, roll over. And still be biting a little piece of the forefoot.
And that was a good result there. He would probably have wanted it to be about a full rock more behind that guard, and then that would have really made it a lot easier to conceal a potential second shot. Here it gives the opportunity that Stewart is able to hit and try to sit his deuce.
Well, he went down there, and now he's going to come back again, so as he has a meeting here with his third, Colton Steele.
So I think the real question about that shot was simply whether you're sticking or whether you're just peeling it out. The only worry when it comes to peeling it out, if I were them, is the fact that you could potentially catch on your own on the other side, the one that we had talked about being just out of the count. It's just the right angle that it would probably jam.
Stuart Thompson with his last here in end number 8. Picks it out and sails by that one that was in the back 12 belonging to him.
Yeah, it was just by, and the question is now, how many options do you have that could get you your multiple? It's, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were, I would probably guess that you're going to see almost a, so to speak, a tick style shot almost on that the middle stone of Kendall Thompson's. If you're able to get to that, you're going to see the blue move, and you're going to have your shooter roll into the 8 foot. Could be a way to score your deuce.
Final stone for the Kendall Thompson team of the Mayflower Curling Club. Got off to a 3-0 lead. Has seen that gone by the wayside, and now is
curl a little bit here, just
trailing.
Enough. And I think that is going to be just a single.
Yeah, just one. As that blue in there is 8 foot. Oh, counts that. So it is a single point for Kendall Thompson. It will be 6-4. Stuart Thompson will have the hammer as we head to end number 9.
So this is going to be a very challenging end for Kendall now with Stewart having the last rock. Stewart's going to want to try to score another big multiple to put this game potentially to bed and book his spot in the semifinals at 7 o'clock against Mark Dacey. Still a lot of curling left, both in this game and with the semifinals this evening. So you're going to want to have potentially a quick end to this game so you can rest and regroup and get ready for the 04 Brier champion.
Yeah, we're coming just a couple of minutes shy of 4 o'clock here on the East Coast of Canada. The game's scheduled to start around 2, so they're right around like the 2-hour time frame right now. And so, as you say, they need to rest because they've been here since this morning. So, trying to do what maybe some would say would be the unthinkable here of winning 3 pretty well in almost like a 14-hour day. Of course, you have 2 draws. I mean, the thing is, they've had a chance to get used to it. Well, if you have 2 draws a day for a couple of days, yeah, they're probably used to this. But it's just that 3 that's just, that's the really tough one. Of course, when you get into like the nationals, they only make you usually only play 2 a day. So 3 is just really unheard of and very frequent and not rare. Rare, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much a 3 to 10 end games can be a challenge. Simply the stamina of being able to stay consistent throughout all 3 games. Team Thompson, Team Stuart Thompson here, have shown that through their tiebreaker win over Chad Stevens and this game here against Brother Kendall, they've shown that they can keep consistent and really play extremely well. It's going to be a challenge for Kendall to be able to get a few nice and buried to try to force a steal. But he's playing well enough still, even with the misses, that you could see some potential crazy results and a crazy finish to this game.
Long guard here for the Kendall Thompson team. Well, you could take a family picture there, and you couldn't tell who was winning and who was losing. Big poker faces by both Kendall and Stewart on that one.
Yeah, and both of them definitely staying in the moment as best they can, because it's very high stakes, of course. Your whole season pretty much coming down to this one game, really, that if you win, you continue your road to the Tim Hortons Briar. You lose, you're done. So now you're going to see, it appears that Kendall's calling now to come around the guard and put one into the top 8. Good call there. It just simply, you get, did that pick? It slowed down pretty fast.
Yeah, there's not much rotation on that handle there, so it wouldn't make you think that it did.
Yeah,
I said, that to be the first one that we had, and I didn't want one to happen, but hey, sometimes, of course, you need a break to, maybe turn the momentum of the way a game goes, but then sometimes, of course, bad luck gets in your way, and case in point there.
Yeah, it's honestly a shame there for the Kendall Thompson rink that potentially the biggest miss in being a pick ends up happening to them in the 9th end of their tie-breaking match, because they really needed that one in top 8 in order to really cause this game to get even tighter.
Oh, remind everybody, it's the semifinals in the 2018 Scotties coming up later tonight here on this sheet here on Bell 5 TV 1. We'll have Kristen McDermott versus Jill Brothers. And, of course, Marianne Arsenault waiting to see who she plays in the final tomorrow. That stone's almost going down the street there, probably going to stop by the Penhorn Plaza if it was removed out of play.
Yeah, definitely moving some granite. Really, there's no need for a Stewart team to have much of anything in play. You can pretty much score to put this game into a very challenging conclusion. Up 2 with hammer, you score any major multiple point end, it would really make for a challenge.
And now they're going hard for it. Bryce Everest putting everything he has into that to sweep that rock towards the back 8. And of course Stewart now sort of in cleanup mode, wanting that yellow stone removed here. Going to get it in the hand of Travis Coulter to do that. And he'll pretty well do it by himself. Peels it. As Ardeo and Steele went for a run. I'll tell you, when you for a Travis Coulter rock, you're going to have to be really in good shape, because, boy, as I said, he can throw the howitzer. So you better make sure you bring your good running shoes, and of course, for
sure.
that one, because he can throw bullets. Just seen right there.
And that's definitely a main calling card of this Stuart Thompson rink, of being able to make those big hits. Though Taylor as the lead doesn't get to throw them as much, he's extremely effective at them, as is Travis and Colton. And of course, when needed there, Stuart always is able to make the big weight when needed.
And even before that comes to a stop, Thompson puts his broom down. So there's a potential, of course, to be a repeat of the last shot here. This time it's Colton Steele that's going to do it. Our deal with light brushing. Might see if they try to roll. Yes, they do roll, push one of those blue in. But it could sail to the back. It will, and it will stay back there, stay in play, but well outside the rings.
And honestly, this is one of the situations which kind of favors Stuart Thompson, being that now, with only one rock in the house, you have a good chance to potentially try to blank this end. If you go for the blank, then you're up 2 with hammer coming home, and it could even finish the game before even having to complete really the whole end.
Gerd once again being placed up here by Bryce Everest.
Yeah, Bryce is going to want to get this just right here, because the least bit of an overcurl and it could potentially line up some shots for Stuart.
Just even the technique, like I had a chance to work with Pam Sullivan on the Marianne Arsenault game against Lattiser. She was just impressed with, how square and direct they come right out of the hack. Same as the Stuart Thompson team, just no real hitches in their deliveries, just pretty well square and solid delivery.
And all of these ones have been extremely well coached. I know for years, Colton and Travis were coached by Shane Carson here out of the Dartmouth Curling Club, who coached them to their Optimus Under-18 title. And they learn really good technique, and Taylor, having curled out of Alberta, and Stuart.
Well, if you're coming from Alberta, you better know how to do it, because that is that's like
a tough
the second
curling province.
That's like Manitoba and Alberta. You've got to be on if you're coming from those provinces.
Yeah, and then as well as Stuart and Kendall both having come from a very strong team together, having made it to the national juniors. They are extremely good technical players. Gone is the days of you not being able to work out and be physically fit in order to make the big shots, because they truly are able to be at the top of their game, being very technically proficient at making the delivery perfect and getting the results.
Well, it's been pretty well an exchange of, shots here. Of course, Thompson needing some stones to generate points and try to get things going. And Peel City here for the Stuart Thompson team, and it's pretty well status quo once again as the guard's removed and the shooter goes out. So just one yellow stone in the back belonging to Kendall Thompson without hammer here in 9.
So now you're going to see Kendall calling for a draw for his to the top of the 8-foot. It will make it a challenge now, as Stuart will probably have to have a double on his final stone. So it could force a steal out. I highly doubt that you'd see a steal of 2 like we saw in our morning game, but a steal of 1 could make things interesting.
Jared Brown ready to brush, as well as Lavelle. He'll give it some light cleaning, make sure another doesn't pick anything up. And is it going to come into the rings? Of course, you said it was, so it's going to come to there in the just in the 8-foot area, but lined up pretty good.
Yeah, a little bit deeper than they'd hoped. They wanted it to be probably more full 8, closer to the 12-foot. Then it makes for a longer double. Now this gives the opportunity that it's a bit of a tighter shot for Stuart Thompson and could potentially be a bit more makeable. Gonna pretty much hit almost near where Colton has the brush. Or a little bit wider, so we'll have to see how it goes.
They're going hard. Our deal going hard here for line. On it, bang, bang. Sticks the yellow. Steal of 1, 6-5. Don't go anywhere. 10th end coming up, 6-5 as we go to the 10th end. Stuart Thompson will have the hammer, and he's throwing the blue stones.
So now you're going to see a little bit of a more aggressive style again out of Kendall, trying to force another steal to get this game into extra ends. That being said, on the side of Stuart Thompson, he's going to want to try to play it as simple as possible and make it open so that he can have an easier shot to score and get this game to bed so that he can head on up to the semifinals. Still not over, but it's again going to be a nail biter of a finish here at the Dartmouth Curling Club this Saturday afternoon. A storm may be brewing outside, but it's also brewing out there on the ice.
That was very, very comfortable.
Yep, 6-3 has now changed to 6-5 as we play the 10th. And as we mentioned, Stuart Thompson, blue handled stones, has the hammer here in 10. So, you're Kendall Thompson, and you're playing your brother. How are you going to steal against him? What plans do you have? Where would you put them? What do you got to do? Of course, you got to do take advantage of the free guard zone. I get it, but where do you find
I think you really have to
holes to get your steal here in 10?
I think you really have to try to get a little bit of an opening with trying to get. You need to get Stuart to start getting rocks in play. With a lot more rocks in play.
Tick shot
Was made there, so you're gonna have to see another center guard from Kendall. With a lot more rocks in play, it would make it a little bit easier to force a miss out of this very strong Stuart Thompson ring, who is playing extremely well. Both teams are playing extremely well, but you really need to force a miss out on a hit, which, that being said, you're trying to get a missed hit from one of the top hitting teams in this province. Again, we thought that though in the morning tiebreaker with Joe Brothers, and then steal it too, and we sent the game to extras.
Just saw the reaction of Kendall Thompson. Did not want that to come into the rings.
Yeah,
and
definitely didn't want that to come into the rings.
His body language explained that. Well, this one comes on its way here from Taylor Ardeal. I got a message from his mother last night. I was doing the game. We did the tick shot then, and he was sort of smiling afterwards. And she sent me a message. Yeah, we paid lots of money for that nice little piano smile. So.
Yeah, and I think Taylor's been pretty happy so far. I think I've seen a little bit of that smile the whole game.
Yeah, well,
along with his skipper, I think they're pretty confident and excited in how they're playing.
Well, he's in 2 back-to-back games that I've covered here of the Stuart Thompson foursome. He's made that tick shot twice, so it's getting up there, and pretty well can put him up in the name of Elisa Wiegels. But of course, you got to win the provincial championship to get in that caliber. But definitely, of course, she's one of the best to make that shot on the team Holman. So.
And that's really become the signature shot for any lead at this level to become effective. As Lisa Wiegel did popularize it, you really need to be able to make that shot as many times as you need in the round of a game to utilize the free guard zone, and it's going to become even more necessary come next year once you move to the 5-rock free guard zone. Coming in with the World Curling Federation changes for next year. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that becomes part of the game. It really has been a challenge for teams to master, but once you do master it, it ends up being a great thing to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, as you see, it's we talk about the tick. There it is, of course, making sure that those stones are well outside the wings and keeping the center line path open. As we see the throw here from Brendan Laval. And it's pretty well for Stuart Thompson. Now he's looking down and counting down the rocks there. Happier with that one. As I said a couple seconds ago, he was not happy when that one went into the rings because he needs somewhere to hide, and you put it in the rings, you're just basically asking for it to remove because this team can peel very well, as we've documented throughout.
So Travis again going to try to peel out that stone there. He's been making those all day long.
Yeah, no kidding, probably, because he started here this morning at it, so.
Yeah, he was making a lot in the game against Chad and has continued on here against Kendall. I will mention here, as Bryce Everest delivers, there is a lot more curling left here at the Dartmouth Curling Club at 7 o'clock with the 2 semifinals. And then tomorrow, the men's final at 9 a.m., the women's final at 2. It's great value to come out and watch some great championship curling. We have a pretty good crowd here for this tiebreaker, both upstairs here on the second floor and downstairs at ice level.
They were late arriving, but they came in here just in time, and
so
it was a seesaw back and forth one. Kendall got off to a good lead, and all of a sudden everybody was thinking, spoiler alert or upset alert, and Thompson with 6 straight points.
But yeah, as I will say there, that if you're in the area, come on down to the Dartmouth Curling Club on Canal Street, just off of Portland Street in downtown Dartmouth. There's a lot of great championship curling, some great hospitality here at the Curling Club, and we will hopefully want to have a great crowd for both the semifinals and championship Sunday. But again, if you can't make it out here to the Dartmouth Curling Club, we're glad to bring the coverage to you here on Bell 5 TV 1. So they need this guard.
3 sweepers get together. Here. Laval will back off. Kendall Thompson, can they get it over the line? Yes, they just do.
There, so that's a great result. You're still going to see it removed. And Colton Steele will be the one tasked with doing that. He's been, as well as Travis, making the big hit shot all day long. Kid gets the hit, gets the roll, and nowhere really to hide for this Kendall Thompson rink.
Yeah, and then right now they're getting into the skip rock, so it's like, well, and you see it, nowhere to hide. Now it's basically all of a sudden, well, where do I think that he may have difficulty, with where I want to put this sort of thing, where you have difficulty getting rid of it, and when a team that doesn't have a lot of cracks in their foundation, trying to, it's almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack, trying to find a place to put this, this stone here.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging simply because with how well Stewart and his team have been playing, there really is not many options for him. It does look like Kendall's going to try to draw around his own at the side, which is a good option because it would probably force Stewart into a draw, which he hasn't been playing as many draws so far this game.
Yeah, the Swabers got to get on this hard. That yellow one is coming up on them, trying to get it by as it comes up easily by in the world of curling, but they won't be able to get it to the rings.
But honestly, that is still a good result because I could see them trying to, depending on where they place this, that they could try to do it again and try to roll it in and set a good result. Again, it all depends on where Stewart places this one as to where they can go to potentially make it a little bit more difficult on Stewart's second.
Still trying to understand the game, John, because I, admit that I am not a player. But I mean, this situation, okay, you're up by 1. There's nothing in the rings. Why doesn't he just throw this through and say, okay, here, so that Kendall can come down, put a Yellowstone there, and then I just pick it out for my win.
Because you see, the thing is that in this case with this stone here, if he threw it through, you would probably see Kendall would play a little nudge shot on that stone at the edge just outside of the 12 foot, and would probably sit 2, and you'd be forced to a tough double. So putting one in here pretty much necessitates having to hit this stone, and it makes it a bit of an easier result depending on where you roll.
Brown and Lavelle taking a little bit of a breather before they get ready for this last rock here from Kendall Thompson out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Pretty well make the hit on this one, and all of a sudden the looks are starting to pretty well tell the story here, but there's no quitting this team. They're going to keep trying here. They've gotten some points here in the 8 and 9, and hoping for good results here in 10, trailing, but don't have the hammer, as you see with the icon up on the screen in 10.
Yeah, very important here. They need to try to get, probably I would say you need to roll to at least the edge of the 8 foot. So they need to get this really good, but it's going to need to curl. How far can you get it, boys?
They're going to try to get it over there, and it will sit there, and pretty easy path.
And this is a path that, if I remember correctly, Stewart has played a lot this game, and now it pretty much make it go away, and you have yourself a spot against Mark Dacey in the semifinals. Doesn't even need to have it stick around, being that you are up by 1.
Just make it go away. He started these championships with a loss to his brother, and now is basically close here to pension himself into the semis. Kendall Thompson here of the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Brooms up, and the victory for
Nails it.
Stewart Thompson.
The Stuart Thompson team, Taylor Ardeel, Travis Coulter, Colton Steele, Stuart Thompson of the Dartmouth Curling Club. Their 5th is Billy McPhee over Kendall Thompson. Out of the Mayflower Curling Club, Jarrett Brown, Brendan Lavelle, Bryce Everest, and Kendall Thompson. 7-5 the final. And John, it had a lot of drama, especially it looked like Kendall Thompson might pull off a little bit of upset. He started pulling away 3-0, and then Stuart Thompson with a big 3 that sort of turned things around, and then consecutive steals for Stuart Thompson. and then he was able to hold on here for the 7-5 win, and he'll now have a chance to take on Mark Dacey in the semifinal tonight.
Yeah, that was truly the game changer of this game with the 3 in the fourth. And Stewart, with how well he's been playing, he's running on a very confident streak, and he'll be truly a tough one to beat in the match against Mark Dacey tonight at 7 in the semifinals. It was a great one to be here to commentate on. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have our viewers tune back in again at 7 for 2 outstanding games as McDermott versus Brothers on this sheet, and Dacey versus Stuart Thompson in the men's semifinal.
Oh, that does it for now. That's the story here for the Dartmouth Curling Club. For John Seitman and our producer, Sean Senator, and the entire Bell 5 TV1 crew, Dan Hobson saying so long. Thank you for watching the Tiebreaker here at the 2018 Nova Scotia Men's Deloitte Tankard on TV1.